Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are discussing adhesive, which is my part 2 in my retention series. So grab a snack, take a seat, let's get to learning. So the reason why I wanted to do a whole video just on adhesive is because there's a lot of confusion on the topic and it really doesn't need to. So I want to go into a few points that hopefully will help bring some clarification into the subject, and hopefully you'll be seeing better retention through using proper adhesive. So let's get started. Now the first point I want to make regarding adhesive, it's not so much important which adhesive you use, but it's more important how you use your adhesive. A lot of people have their favorites. I have my favorites too, but what really is important to get the best out of your adhesive is just to understand how to use it. One important aspect is how you are storing your adhesive. Companies vary all over the place. Some will ask you to put your adhesive in the refrigerator prior to opening, and others would prefer that you don't. So that's important that you check with the manufacturer to make sure that you are storing it properly, whether it's in the fridge or not in the fridge. After that, once you've opened it, how you store it then is really important as well. I love to store mine in a Lash Love Shack. This is my preferred method of how to store your adhesive. I like it because it's vacuum sealed. Other options though are just sticking it in a jar. You can put rice or silica beads. Again, that is another aspect that maybe a manufacturer might not want you to do. For example, the clear adhesive from Lash Makers, she asked that you do not put it in the fridge and that you don't store it in any kind of moisture absorbing, thing like rice or silica beads, because it is a thinner adhesive and it can dry out further. So that's what I mean by how you store it is really important, that you make sure you're reading and you're asking the manufacturer the best way for that specific adhesive. One universal rule that you never want to break when you're storing your adhesive is making sure it's never in direct light, direct sunlight, or it's in a direct heat source, and that it's kept away from any kind of moisture. So it should always be kept in a cool, dark place, no matter how you store your adhesive or what adhesive it is. Those are some rules that you should always stick with. The next point is to make sure that your adhesive is thoroughly mixed. I can't tell you how many times I see lash artists and they just give their bottle a couple shakes and that's it. Shaking it only for a few seconds does not allow all of the ingredients within the adhesive to completely emulsify and to mix and therefore work better. So you need to be shaking your adhesive. If you're doing it manually with your hand, you need to be shaking it vigorously for like 2 minutes. Or you can go the extra step and use an adhesive shaker. So this is the Lab Genius lab shaker. It's not necessarily made for adhesive. It's actually made to mix, ingredients like in a lab, like in a little vial or something. But I have found that this works so great for mixing adhesive. So it's really simple. You just sit your adhesive there, and with a little pressure, you can even hear it. You hear all of the adhesive inside being mixed so well, so thoroughly. And what's great about this is that you can do it for 30 seconds and it's gonna be mixed far better than if you were to shake it manually on your own. Now I purchased this on Amazon, and I'll put the link in the description box below. It was about in the $70 range, but so worth it. For me, it has made all the difference. I have personally noticed my retention is better because my adhesive is mixed better since using this product. So I highly, highly recommend. Links down below, go pick yourself up one. The next point I'd like to make is making sure that you are refreshing your bead of adhesive more often. Again, sometimes we forget, we're in the zone, we're lashing, and we don't notice that our adhesive, is sitting there open to the air and open to moisture, and therefore is curing. The dot itself is curing while on our tile. So we should be replacing the dot about every 15 minutes. Depending on your environment, maybe that could go to 20 minutes, or maybe it's a really hot, humid day and you have to refresh your dot of adhesive every 10 minutes. That's completely personal. It's up to your environment, where you are at. But just make sure that you are refreshing your dot of adhesive often. Along with dispensing and refreshing your dot of adhesive, in the past I've noticed artists will dispense their adhesive on the same strip. And so their old bead is right next to their new bead. And that's not really good to do. The old bead of adhesive is really fumy and it's dying off, and oftentimes it can mess with the new fresh bead. So always make sure that you are removing the old bead of adhesive before you put down your new fresh one. The next point is that we need to make sure that we are labeling and dating our adhesive, and that we are getting a new bottle of adhesive about every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on what the manufacturer says. I personally don't like to go past 4 weeks. I notice that the adhesive itself, although works, is not working as well. Again, that's going to be up to you and your price point, what you can afford. It also depends upon how many times you're opening your bottle. Let's say you're a brand new lash artist and maybe you're only doing a couple clients a week. You might not need to refresh your whole bottle as often as someone who does all day of lashing and taking clients, and then they will need to obviously replace their bottle sooner because they're opening the cap. Either way, I don't think you should ever go past 5 weeks, 6 weeks pushing it, because the ingredients just get exposed to the air as we open the bottle and they just don't work as well. A lot of times we think, oh, well, I can't afford that, $50, $60 glue, what do I do? But think about it this way. If you're using expired adhesive on your clients, you're risking the fact that they might have higher risk of allergies or an irritation, not to mention their retention's poor. So who's gonna be to blame for that? You are. You could be out more time and more money if you choose to use expired adhesive on your client rather than just sucking it up, buying a new bottle, and using fresh adhesive on your client, ensuring that you have a clean product and a product that's gonna give better retention. The other point I wanna make is how much adhesive you're actually using on your lash. Now, in the industry, we're all about clean work, not goopy glue, like none of that, and that's true. We don't wanna overuse adhesive. It leads to stickies, it leads to a mess, it can pull out lashes. That's true. However, what I often see in my classes and when I'm helping someone is they're not using enough adhesive. Lashes aren't magic. They don't attach by themselves. What holds the lash extension to the natural lash is the adhesive. And if we're not using enough, they will just crumble and flake off and not last at all. So we need to be using enough. So whether it's a classic lash or if you're doing volume and you're using a fan, you want to gently dip the extension tip into the adhesive like so, nice and slow. If you do it quickly, you will see like a bead on the extension, and you don't want that because then that would be too much adhesive. Going nice and slow will control the amount of adhesive that goes on your lash extension. You want to dip it in about 1 to 2 millimeters. The last point I would like to make is making sure that you understand how adhesive works with your environment's temperature and humidity. Now, our air also has water in the air, so that's why we really need to know if we're in a dry climate or a humid climate, how we can best use our adhesive to work for that. So I'm in Utah, which is a really dry climate, and the temperature today is 68 degrees and a 32% humidity, which is just fine for me. So I choose adhesives that are really great for that kind of climate and humidity. However, you might have a day where it's really rainy and the humidity jumps up. That's where, whether you have a really rainy day or if you live in a climate that's extra humid, you might need to get a dehumidifier, something that's gonna suck the moisture out of the room, because the more moisture that is in your environment, it's gonna cause your adhesive to cure really, really fast. Just like if you're in a really dry climate, some days I'll notice in the dead of summer, my adhesive that's so dry in my room, there's no moisture in the air, my adhesive is not curing whatsoever. So that's where I would need to get a humidifier in my room. Now, I love this little gauge here. This tells me the temp and humidity. I also purchased this on Amazon, and I'll put the link down below. It was only about $13, and it is a great tool to be able to know where your space is at and what you can do to to fix it. So this is a really great buy. So again, knowing the temperature and humidity of your room, and then knowing how to first purchase a adhesive that is good for that environment, but then also knowing the other tricks and tips to be able to combat maybe a really dry climate or a really humid climate. Things like humidifiers and dehumidifiers, air conditioning, things like that that can kind of change the temperature of your room. So that is another really important thing to know in regards to your adhesive. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it cleared up some of the things that you might be struggling with your adhesive. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'd be happy to help and elaborate further. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video in my retention series. See you guys later.